John Morgan has made over $900 million in his lifetime, and he's figured out something that most wealthy people in crypto are gonna have to learn the hard way. His kids already know what their inheritance is, down to the dollar, and they know the estate plan. They know where the assets sit, and they know who to call when he dies, if that happens tomorrow. And here's the wild thing. A lot of his peer group thinks he's crazy for doing this. They hide their wealth from their children. They think if their kids know what's coming, they're gonna get lazy, and they'll make bad decisions, and they'll just stop working. Morgan's response is, if I didn't raise them right, I'm not gonna fix it by keeping secrets. So here's what he does, and this is what you should do if you have a bunch of money in XRP or Bitcoin or HBAR and you've been stacking for the last 5-6 years. This is going to change everything for you. Most of you are sitting on assets. It could be generational wealth, and you've put zero plan in place for what happens when you're gone. And even worse, if you're still here, but your kids need access to it, they don't have a way to get it. So let's walk through the 5 things that Morgan's done with his wealth that crypto holders could be learning from and should probably implement immediately. Number 1, quarterly family meetings. This is a simple one, but it makes a huge difference. Morgan sits down with his entire family 4 times a year. And once a year, they have a really big meeting where he walks through the entire estate plan. Where does the money go? How does it get there? Who do you call? And how do you actually get your piece of the wealth over your lifetime? And then he does something that makes most people really uncomfortable. He shares his entire net worth, all of it. He makes his kids actually show what theirs is to each other. And then they talk about what they've invested in and how they're spending their money. Now, think about your crypto. Does your spouse know your seed phrases? Do they know what exchanges you use? Do they even know what wallets you have? If you got hit by a bus tomorrow, could your family recover a single drop or a single Satoshi? This isn't just about transparency, it's about training. Morgan is teaching his kids how to think about money while he's still alive to course correct them. You need to be doing the same with whoever is going to inherit your positions. Number 2, he's passing on wealth now. Morgan isn't waiting until he dies to give it to his kids. He wants to watch them enjoy it. He wants to help them navigate it. And he wants to be there so that when they make mistakes, he can help them fix it. In 2008, when everything crashed, he had all of his assets appraised and he gave a massive gift to his kids. He used the full exemption, which was about $25 million at the time. And he did it when valuations were in the dirt. And I think you can kind of see where I'm going with this. If you bought XRP at 20 cents, if you bought Bitcoin at $10,000, if you got into HBAR before the institutional adoption started here recently, the cost basis you have on those assets is low in comparison to where they're going over the long term. Transferring assets or appreciated crypto to your kids through a trust or a family limited partnership before the value starts climbing means they get to inherit your cost basis. When they eventually sell, the tax hit comes from the original purchase price, not the transfer price. But here's the thing, if you wait until you die, the estate tax calculation happens at the peak value. You're basically letting the government take a bigger cut because, well, you wanted to hold on to control. The way Morgan did this was he had built a software company and he gifted, 20% to each child and kept 20% for himself. When they sold it for over $600 million to a large private conglomerate, his kids got their share and he used his 20% to pay the taxes to cover those gifts and they got it tax-free. You could do the same thing with your crypto. You could set up an entity, transfer the tokens in early when the valuation is still low, let the appreciation happen inside the structure, and when it moons, the gains belong to the trust or the limited partnership, and you don't have your transfer tax or the lifetime gift tax being affected when this happens. Number 3, prenups are non-negotiable. Every single one of Morgan's kids has a prenup, and the way he structured his estate, if you don't have a prenup, you don't get to participate, period. One lawyer told him that it was the most egregious document that they have ever read, and Morgan took that as a compliment. And here's why it matters for your crypto. Your XRP bag isn't like a house. It's not your retirement account. It's a bearer asset, and whoever controls the keys controls the coins. In a divorce situation, if your spouse knows the seed phrase, well, they can move those assets in seconds, and it's irreversible. A prenup that specifically addresses digital assets, that outlines who controls the wallets, that establishes clear ownership before the marriage, that's important. It's not paranoia. It's basic risk management. And Morgan does something smart. He makes himself the bad guy. His kids tell their spouse, look, my dad is my dad, and if you don't sign this, we don't get anything. The pressure comes from him, not from the child having to negotiate with someone that they love. If you're building real wealth in crypto, you need to have this conversation with your kids before they get serious with someone. Make yourself the bad guy. Protect the digital assets that you've worked so hard to accumulate for your family. Number 4, life isn't equal. and it's not fair. Morgan explicitly tells his kids that they won't be treated equally. One of the children is 12 years older than the other. That kid has 12 more years of appreciation, and the money's already been passed on to them. The younger one will eventually catch up, but right now, those numbers aren't the same. They are very different. He does this publicly. He does it at the family meetings. Everyone sees what everyone else has. Why? Because if he dies and the kids find out that one got more than the other, and they don't understand why, they'll start fighting. Resentment will destroy the family's money faster than losing it to taxes or creditors or any of those other things could. Crypto makes this even more complicated. If you gave your oldest child, call it 1,000 XRP in 2020, and you're giving your youngest 1,000 XRP next year, those gifts would be completely different, not even close in value. Your oldest may have gotten it at 20 cents, and your youngest might be receiving it at $10,000 each. You need to have these conversations. Everybody needs to understand that equal isn't fair, and fair isn't equal. And they need to hear it from you while you're still alive to explain it. Number 5. The $100 million cap. This is probably one of the more interesting things that Morgan does. In his estate, if a child has more than $100 million, they get nothing. Some of them have already passed this number and they're done. They've made it from, investing in different things and business ventures that they've had together over his lifetime, or taking shares in new ventures that they're participating in. The inheritance only kicks in to the children that need it. So what does this look like for crypto? Maybe you set up a trust that only distributes to the children with a certain net worth. If they've already met that threshold, maybe the trust funds are just for education. Maybe they're just for, a home purchase or business ventures, but you never write checks for consumption. You're building wealth that has a purpose, not wealth that turns your grandchildren into trust fund kids that blow it all after one generation. The point is not to control things from beyond the grave. The point is to create structures that cultivate behavior that benefit and protect your family's wealth over generations. So here's where all of this comes together. Most crypto holders treat their bag like a lottery ticket. They're hoping for the moon, and they have no plan for what happens when that actually takes place. No tax strategy, no transfer structures, nothing for the next generation. Morgan has built nearly $1 billion of wealth in his lifetime, and he's already given most of it away to his children strategically, tax efficiently, and to the people who are trained to handle it while he's still around to teach them. These assets may be different, but the principles remain the same. You need to know where your crypto is, and so does your family. You need to be transferring wealth while values and your estate exemptions make it smart to do so. You need legal protections in place before relationships get complicated, and you should be having honest conversations about who gets what and why. And you need these structures and incentives in place for your heirs to build their wealth, not just to spend it. Old money families have been doing this for generations, and new crypto wealth has only been doing this for about 15 years, and most of them have no succession plan at all in place. So don't be the guy that stacked XRP for decades and then left his family guessing which phone had the authenticator app on it. Thanks for watching, but none of this actually even matters if you don't understand how crypto is taxed when it's transferred. And you can click right here for those strategies to be able to save your heirs millions.